The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Friday, March 6, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. Let me get straight to, so I don't want to be alarmist, and I don't want to, there's a reason I spend quite a bit of time avoiding conspiracy theories and sensationalized topics. It's probably because I'm a little susceptible to them myself, to be quite honest with you. I can admit that. I can admit that I avoid them because it's so easy to fall down that hole. Same thing with being an alarmist, right? It is I have the natural inclination to obsess over things and to be extremely panicked about things because of just how I deal with information. I've been talking about that a little bit this week on how we process information. People process it differently. I'm going to get to the point. The point is actually really important and is way more important than all these caveats that I'm giving. So I apologize for that, but this is just how I do my show. Okay. So at the risk of sounding alarmist, which I don't want to be alarmist because I have a natural propensity to always be alarmist, I do not believe that we are giving enough attention to the coronavirus. And I think that we are, particularly here in the United States, susceptible to some of the harshest death totals because of several things that are at play at the same time in this country. One, we have an administration that just rejects facts. I mean, it's hard to understand, but there are people who simply reject facts. Donald Trump rejects facts, and he has the cult-like ability to intimidate everyone into behaving like he does. Like if you listen to some of these interviews, some of these pressers by people from the World Health Organization or people from our Health and Human Services Department, then you will see that, and I want to correct myself, not anyone from the World Health Organization, but the conferences from people who answer to Donald Trump. You will see that they are doing their best to do their job while accommodating for the fact that we have a president who rejects facts, plural, right? That's so dangerous right now. It's dangerous right now because of the rate that this is spreading, and because we don't even know the rate that it's spreading. We don't have enough tests in this country to actually know how many people have this virus. The other thing that is, I don't think it's unique to this country, but I live here, so I'm worried about it, is this idea that everyone kind of puts in their head. They immediately assume that it is something that we've seen before. Like, oh, we've been through SARS, we've been through Ebola, we've been through the swine flu, we've been through this, that. And so most people kind of dismiss it as, oh, this is just people being alarmist. And so we become desensitized to the reality that there could very well be something unique happening that we in the United States in particular are not prepared for because of our apathy, because we have a president who rejects fact. And last but not least, we just are not prepared. We've been caught with our pants down. And I feel like the numbers are going to skyrocket because of all of the places that we're falling short, because people are breaking quarantine and this guy broke quarantine because he actually had COVID-19, broke quarantine so that he could attend a business conference at Dartmouth. Now, here's the thing. It turns out that obviously, I mean, usually when they say high risk populations, they include children as well as elderly people, as well as people with compromised immune systems. In this case, it doesn't look like, and I'm looking for the data. I've just seen in multiple places online. This is not sourced. So what I'm getting ready to say, do not take this as evidence. I'm trying to find the words. I'm trying to find something to back this up, but it looks as though the impact is concentrated in the elderly and less so in children. And I know that's extremely selfish of me because I have small kids. Well, I also have an elderly pet mother and in-laws, so I want them to be careful too. I do. I really do. But if you think about our school systems, like our only saving grace, if this information is true, that it is not as deadly to children and it's not spreading as quickly amongst children, then that might be the only good news we get from this entire thing. I mean, just think about the little cesspools that we have at schools. Like it never fails. Like the kids are bringing home something every other week, which is cool. That's our normal way of doing things in this country. I get it, but we cannot assume that this is like everything else, because from all indications, and when I say my indication, here are my indicators. If you want to understand why I'm talking about this at the top of the show, it's because it's like the stewardess on an airplane, right? I don't know if that's the politically correct way to say it. The flight attendant. Okay. I hate flying, but I will do it. And I only can do it because I know the odds that are better. Like I know the math on it. More likely that I'm going to die in a car accident, but I still hate flying. One of the things that keeps me calm on a flight is so long as the stewardess or the flight attendant, they're doing their normal thing. It's when the flight attendant gets nervous and gets it and buckles in. When the flight attendant cancels the normal routine of bringing me my little peanuts and my little Jack Daniels, because I'm not even gonna lie, like that's how I fly. Everybody else is drinking coffee. Give me 2 shots of Jack Daniels, and then I can fly. And that's only because that's the best liquor they have on the airlines. But I digress. When they stop serving food and they buckle up, okay, then I get a little nervous. But when you see a flight attendant actually look scared, and that's kind of been the indicator for me. It's not scientific at all. It's just my gut. And what I'm learning more than anything else is to trust my effing gut. Call me. If I'm alarmist at this point, I'm alarmist. But my gut is telling me just by the reaction of people who are dead smack in the middle of it. People are saying that we don't have this under control. We don't have it under control because we don't have enough tests in the United States, particularly. It will be amazing if the damage from this is concentrated in the United States for all of the reasons that I outlined. Our general rejection of facts. We're in a post-fact, post-truth society, and it's in the White House. And as a result, the reaction and the response to this has been post-fact, post-science. Like at some point, I expect them to start praying for this virus to go away. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been praying. I've been appealing to God, but I don't expect the people in charge to use that methodology. I need the people in charge to use some damn science. Okay. Like the other day I caught myself. I was like, God, we need some help with this coronavirus. Like, I'm like, Jesus, can you step in and help us out? But I do not want the president of the United States depending on Jesus to fix this when he has the full power of the government and all of the scientists in this country to get it done. All right. But I feel like we're so far gone in this country where people would be more excited about a prayer vigil to get rid of coronavirus than they are going through the proper protocols and having enough tests and quarantining where it needs to be quarantined. Now, I want to say a word about quarantine. It is a complete shutdown of your rights, right? And I hate the thought of that. I feel the suffocation just thinking about it, right? But we're self-quarantining at our house pretty soon here. We're going to we just have to take it in our own hands. I think, and when I say that, I mean, in a responsible fashion, obviously, people. If you ever think for a second that Ben Dixon is calling for something irrational, I didn't. I'm not. I'm saying in the most rational fashion possible. Let's take care of ourselves. Avoid public places. If you're campaigning for Bernie Sanders, then you make sure that you carry, they said hand sanitizers doesn't even work, but shit, take it anyway, just in case. Take you some Lysol and just be really cautious. Don't touch your face, avoid sneezing in your hands, and definitely avoid other people who are sneezing around you. Just do whatever precautions. I don't even know all the precautions that you should take. I mean, if I have to start researching that, if I have to become an expert in how to avoid getting this virus, I will. And so that I can communicate it to you. But I think we could start with the basics. The basics is just avoid a lot of public places, avoid touching your face. I know that is hard. On God, I know how difficult it is to not touch your face. It's almost unrealistic. It's almost unrealistic for us to not shake hands, right? Because we just have a natural we like to touch each other. That's what we do. That's the most of the joy of our life is interacting with other people. And for a while here, we're going to have to not do that. So anyway, that's it. I'm not going to belabor this. Do what you have to do within reason. Avoid big rallies. I know you want to go to the Bernie Sanders rally later, but I would suggest avoiding it. Make sure you wash your hands and stay away from as many public places as possible, and just go through the due diligence of being mindful. And I think in about a week or two, my hope, my prayer is that in a week or two, we will at least understand the magnitude. Because going into this blindly, I think is the most dangerous thing. Going into this not knowing exactly how many people are infected because we don't have enough tests, I think that creates the biggest potential for the greatest amount of loss of life. And in the bonus episode, I'm going to talk about some other characteristics of this, and that'll be it. So let's get off of that, and we'll talk about some more politics coming up here briefly.
Nina referenced Dr. Martin Luther King before, saying that he said from the Birmingham jail that we should be concerned about white moderates. That's actually not what Martin Luther King said. What he said is we should be worried about the silence of white moderates.
And then she got mad.
Are you kidding me? Nina, wait.
No, she's making a language point.
What he said was we should worry about the silence of white moderates. And what we have in Joe Biden is a man who is not silent. He has a long record, and many votes that in today's world feel like the wrong thing were the wrong thing, and he has discussed that over and over again, as Bernie Sanders did on the gun votes and other things. So we can be talking about votes from 20 years ago, or we can be talking about people's values and who they trust.
Last quick point.
That's what Joe Biden's going to be talking about.
Last quick point to you, Nina.
What Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about, he said, it is the point that the white moderate wants things to be comfortable, and instead of focusing in on that, the bigger threat is not necessarily the white KKK member, but more the white moderate that is more comfortable with keeping things the same and pretending like there is no tension.
Don't use Martin Luther King against Joe Biden. You don't have that. You don't have that standing.
First of all,
I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Don't tell me what kind of standing I have as a black woman in America. How dare you?
You have a lot of standing as a black woman in America. You don't have the standing to attack Joe Biden using Martin Luther King's words.
Oh my God.
I didn't attack anybody. You're taking it that way. Listen, don't dip into what I have to say about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. How dare you, as a white woman, sit up here and try to tell me?
That is not what I said. Don't you do that?
My God. Okay. I gotta cut it there, because boy, look here. I was ready to see Nina Turner reach across the aisle and snatch her by her roots. Hillary Rosen is a surrogate for Joe Biden. They were on Chris Cuomo's show last night, and she had the nerve to try to instruct. See, here's the thing. Look, can I say something? I got to blow something out of the water. Am I ready to do this yet? Here's where it becomes a problem. Identity matters, and you can't tell me otherwise. We'll just have to fight about it, rhetorically speaking. But where it becomes a problem is when you feel so empowered that no one can say anything to you because of your identity. Now, mind you, I know what I just framed makes it seem as though I'm saying this about Nina Turner, because Nina Turner was the one who said, "How dare you?" But this is the instance where it's actually kind of accurate for her to say, "How dare you, as a white woman, try to lecture me about the substance of what a black man said, especially when I am using the substance of what that black man said accurately, and you're trying to distort it." Right? So the problem underlying identity politics is when people expect to not be criticized because of their identity. But the nerve of this woman to try to use to try to white-splain and whitewash and co-opt the legacy of Martin Luther King against a black woman who's properly using the context of Dr. King. You see what I'm saying there? Right. So it would be one thing if Nina Turner said, oh, don't talk to me because I'm black. No, she's saying, don't you try to tell me how to use Dr. King. Number one, I am a black woman and I am using him in the proper context of what he said. So much more to cover about this. I'll talk about this immediately after the patron party. Let's get ready to turn up.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
And here we go. Very special welcome and thank you to all of my wonderful, fabulous, unbelievable, outstanding, and amazing patrons. You can join this family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show and becoming a patron for as little as $3 a month. Very special welcome to Emily Corbridge, Ben Rad, Julian Mack, Nathan Zalea, William Carter, Ed Chavez, Blizzard Fingers 35 Guy. That's a hell of a name. Eddie, welcome aboard. Julianne, Diego, Raging Chicken Media. That's Raging Chicken Media. I guess you go to ragingchickenmedia.com. No, you go to ragingchickenpress.org. Check them out. Bruce Woolman, SM, thank you for becoming a patron. Andy K, Andy Edgar, Marcy, Micah, Jerry Crockwell, DH, Ricardo Alfonso, thank you for becoming a patron. Dustin Shodell, thank you for becoming a patron. Nathan M, thank you for becoming a patron. Drive Zero, thank you for becoming a patron. Carrie Kinzil, thank you for becoming a patron. Eric Braun, Shane Ruiz, Daniel Mercado, Jason Miles, Sharon Hansen, David Chad, welcome aboard. Jacob Cloutier, Neil Kitterlin, John Hardaway, Frederick Polly, Colin Sherbert, Samuel Van Meter, Isabella. Thank you all so much for becoming a patron. I think I have a few more here. Very special welcome to Brian Sevilla, Timothy Dunkel, Jameson Brewer, Nathan Pramus, Siege 211, Brett Hickenbotham. Now, I think I recognize that name from yesterday, so that means I'm repeating. Thank you all for becoming a patron. If you want to join this prestigious family, this prestigious and prodigious family, go to patreon.com/The BPD Show. You get twice the content without any of the ads like you're going to hear here. Okay, so I have to go right back into this Nina Turner thing. I started it before I had enough time to finish it. So I have there's a couple of frames that we have to destroy. And then simultaneously, there's some that we have to make sure that we don't erroneously destroy. Identity politics matter. There are problems that I go through in this country as a black man that you won't go through as a white woman, quite frankly. But there are problems that you go through as a woman that I would never understand as a man, right? I'm a Christian. You don't have to go through the issues, or rather, I don't have to go through the issues that you go through if you're Muslim. Clear as day. So our identity matter. Let me slow down. Our identities matter because there are identity-specific problems in this country, and those problems are created because of our identity. But it's when you have the wholesale dismissal of all of the legitimate criticisms that should be leveled at a person, because, oh, I am a woman, you can't say this to me, or I'm a black man, you can't say this to me. That's where the problem really comes in. Now, this is not what we see happening in this video with Nina Turner, who, quite frankly, was spot on in terms of what she was saying in terms of the white moderate. So I just want to give that because I need to do two things at once in this episode, right? On this particular story. I need to use the problem of the weaponization of identity politics to address what's really going on in terms of all this concern trolling that's happening around how mean Bernie Sanders, supporters are. I think there's a connection there that I want to discuss. But then also I need to just ask Hillary Rosen and Joe Biden's team, and particularly the Black Firewall, do you see what you've done? You've empowered these white people so much that now they're lecturing us about how to properly use the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Which is fine if we're using the legacy of Dr. King erroneously. But as you're hearing this clip, Nina Turner was spot on.
First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises a Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection.
I do apologize for all of that music underneath it. It was the best. It was the best clip that I could find in a jam, in a pinch. But yeah, like seriously, that's literally Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden. And what's hilarious about this is that what happens, here's what happens, man. When you find someone out, someone has been discovered, like when you really cut to the core of who they are and their BS, I think that's when you get the most visceral reaction that you're going to get from a person. You heard how Hillary Rosen, like she doubled down. Like listen to this little portion again.
You know what? Don't use Martin Luther King against Joe Biden. You don't have that. You don't have that standing.
First of all,
I'm sorry, you don't.
Don't tell me what kind of standing I have as a black woman in America. How dare you?
You have a lot of standing as a black woman in America. You don't have the standing to attack.
So, and then she sent it out. She sent out something that she thought was an apology. I think she thought it was an apology, but it really turned out to be a whole lot worse than what she had already said on air. Listen to this tweet from her. She said, quote, she said on air Thursday, I said my colleague Nina Turner didn't have the standing to use MLK Jr. That was wrong. I'm sorry for saying those words. Watch this. Please, no need to defend me and attack angry black women. They have standing. I always need to listen more than I talk. We rise together. I'm sorry. Maybe it went past you. Maybe you didn't catch it. Please, no need to defend me and attack angry black women. Bruh, like this is a Biden supporter. So if by the logic of Elizabeth Warren, we are supposed to be responsible for every single random user on Twitter, then surely the Biden campaign has to answer for this racist. I'm sorry. This is pure to describe black women as angry black women plays directly into a trope that has been used to silence the righteous indignation of black women. Not all black women are right. They're not right because they're black women. But black women have been on the right side of so many issues. They've been to the forefront. They've been on the forefront of those issues before most black men even catch up with them. Right. And the number one way that black women have been silenced throughout this American history has been to describe them as angry black women. It's a level of concern trolling. Like this is exactly like literally this tweet is exactly the type of stuff that Dr. King was talking about. So she is literally demonstrating the frustration of Dr. King when he said that white moderates, they approve of your goals. They just don't approve of your direct action. In other words, I approve of what you said. I shouldn't have criticized you about what you said. And so we should just not be angry at angry black women. You see that? Like very subtly wrapped into it was the very type of concern that Dr. King was expressing. So Hillary Rosen, you are quite literally the white moderate of the day. All right. Next thing on the list of things to talk about today, all of this concern trolling about mean Bernie Sanders supporters. I'm doing my best. I'm going to leave Elizabeth Warren alone. Her interview on Rachel Maddow last night, I'm going to just leave it alone because we need more supporters to come to our team. We do. But here's the catch. I do not believe, and you could disagree with me, but I do like when people disagree with me, especially when you could bring me a reasoned argument that makes me reconsider what I'm thinking. Like the biggest turn on for me is somebody who make me change my mind. Like, I love that shit. So if you could change my mind about something, then like, I'm in love with you. So I have no problem with people disagreeing with me. I just have a problem with people disagreeing with me and not having any substance to back it up with or engaging in bad faith. So what I'm going to say here, probably you may disagree with me on, and that's totally fine. But I do not believe that anyone who is going to reject Bernie Sanders' platform and what he's fighting for because of a few mean or a whole lot of mean or I don't care how many times you got cussed out. I don't believe that you were going to support him in the first place. Because you don't go from supporting one progressive to supporting the quintessential centrist because of some bad supporters. Like I literally had to sit down and take counsel myself, right? I had to sit down and talk to myself. And I said, self, am I going to really support Bernie Sanders when I consider the problems that he had in 2016 with regards to black staffers? And my original self said no. My original self said I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to be on the outside of the primaries and just let it be what it's going to be. Later on, I changed my mind. I convinced myself otherwise. Yes, my head is quite chaotic, as you can tell. But I talked to myself again. I said, self, there's nobody else in this race that's going to fight for the things that I need, like Bernie Sanders is going to fight for what I need. And that's when I decided, you know what? No, that was the first step in me deciding to come out for Sanders. The second step was when I saw all of the people engaging in bad faith arguments against Bernie Sanders. And you know, if nothing else, I'm allergic to bullshit. So I'm sorry. I couldn't stand on the sideline and watch bad faith arguments go forth. And so because of those bad faith arguments, I decided to get into the mix. I'm telling you this because at the core of everything, no matter what my problem was with Sanders and how some of his staffers treated black staffers back in 2016, I still had to look at the substance of what he's fighting for and say, there's nobody else in this campaign that is fighting for as clearly as Bernie Sanders is fighting for the exact things that I'm fighting for. So to me, if I could swallow my pride and deal with the issue of the reasons I did not like, and here's the other thing. I don't like the cult of personality that's around Bernie. Can I just be honest with you? Don't unsubscribe now. Don't unfollow me. I mean, you're probably first time hearing me say this, but I mean, white progressives, y'all could be some of the most racist people I've ever ran into in my life. Let's just be real. I mean, hell, I am probably one of the most naturally misogynistic people that you're ever going to meet. And I believe all the women in my life just said, no shit, Sherlock. I'm just saying that we all have some really bad natural tendencies that we've been trained and conditioned in this country to carry out, whether or not we know we're carrying it out or not. Okay. So between the cult of personality and some of the other stuff that I just really hated to see in terms of Bernie Sanders' team, none of it was enough for me to go from supporting a progressive to supporting a person who doesn't want to do anything on Medicare for all. The person whose motto is, no, we can't. The person who talked about cutting Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, right? There's no part of me, like, if in any given moment of any given day, there will never be a second where I would choose a person who fights against what I'm fighting for just because I don't like his supporters, the other person's supporters. It just doesn't make sense. So when people concern troll us, you might disagree with me, make your argument, make your case. I would love to hear it. But when people concern troll us over random users that we have no account of, there's no way we can stop them from doing whatever they're going to do. There's no way we can even prove that they're actually Bernie Sanders supporters. Now, there are some clear Bernie Sanders supporters that I know that are assholes, but that's fine. That's life. There are assholes everywhere. The point of this is no matter how bad Bernie Sanders supporters may be online. For a person to go from supporting a progressive to supporting a centrist, right-leaning person who supported the Iraq War tells me you weren't never coming over here in the first place. And that maybe, just maybe, you were using Elizabeth Warren as a way, as a wedge in the progressive community. Maybe your support for Elizabeth Warren wasn't even about Elizabeth Warren so much as trying to create a wedge in the progressive movement. Now, can we be kinder? I said it yesterday. Sure. Can we ever be kind enough for them? No. No, because it is a game. Civility is a tool of the powerful to equate their loss of power to the victims of their power. In other words, civility is the only tool that they have at their disposal for them to feign as though they are victims, because there's power in victimhood. There is power in victimhood. There's narrative. There's righteous indignation. There's the ability to organize against the grievances that we have. And when you are in power, you don't have any of those things, because the reason you're in power is because you've taken those things from other people. So how do you monopolize? How do you capitalize on the energy of victimhood when you are the victimizer? Well, civility. I just didn't like how you said that to me, Timmy. Oh, I really just didn't appreciate the tone that you approached me. Well, look, we are dealing with the existential crisis here. We're dealing with justice. We're dealing with freedom. We're dealing with people's lives. What do you expect us to do? Bring you flowers and roses and beg for our freedom? That's not how any of this works. Patrons, hold tight. We'll be back in about 15 seconds for everyone who's going to be in the patron party. Full episode. For everyone else, thank you so much for supporting the show. Go to patreon.com. And if not, I'll see you Monday.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.